Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene. I'm Augie Sabini, use the pronouns he and him, and I am this morning's worship associate. Today, we enter the realm of the more than human world and open our compassionate hearts toward non-human animals of the earth. Any day would be a good day to honor the animals, but since the feast of St. Francis is on October the 4th, today seems like an extra special Sunday for this morning's service and for the animal blessing that will take place between 2 and 3 o'clock in the parking lot today. Steve Kuzma will be offering free professional pet photos, and Rev Jen will be doing the blessings. And Steve Kuzma's made me look good, so if you'd like to know the details for today's service, authors, composers, you can use your phone and get a copy by scanning the QR codes. I'm not going to call them the queer codes like Liz does. Anyway, they're scattered through mostly around doors. The link to that document is also on our homepage at uueugene.org, especially for those of you who are out of town, where it says worship. We also have large print paper copies that are available from our ushers. If today is your first time with us, we're very glad that we could get to know you. Our welcoming room is the south foyer, or foyer, depending on where you're from. And it's a place for both longtime people and just recent arrivals to meet and hang out. Right after the service, there are also a few tables in the social hall that are called the conversation tables. It's for people who enjoy talking with others with the help of a few conversational props. If you're one of the many who are joining us on Zoom, welcome. The link to our visitor form for you visitors who are welcome on Zoom is being dropped into the chat right now. Kerplunk. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, we're glad you're here. And now, with the help of Griffin, I don't think he wanted, we're going to light the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Without fire, the scientists tell us, we would still have to live in trees. Without fire, we would just be another animal. But on the other hand, who hasn't loved to climb a tree? And now, let us say together the words of our mission, which affirms our shared purpose. Empowered by love, we transform ourselves and serve our world. Thank you.
All right, thank you, choir. My name is Ryan Doppelmayr. My pronouns are she, her, medium-sized, middle-aged white woman with brown hair. And I am going to invite anyone who'd like to hear a story to come up a little closer. And we have a special storyteller today. Rev Jen has a story for us. But first, we have a little clue, maybe about what the story is going to be about. And while folks are coming on up, I'm going to say that these little slips are also going to be at a table by the front door in case you were wondering about maybe helping out with kids this year. I'm going to be meeting with folks tomorrow from 6 to 7 in room 7 for some snacks and an introduction to religious exploration and a little orientation if I have any volunteers or potential volunteers thinking about it, and have tomorrow evening free. All right, I think we've got quite a lovely crowd up here. Thanks for joining us. So I have a wonder box. I'm not going to shake it too much, though sadly, Ash, I do not have a live kitten in here this week either. Okay? But we have something. Any guesses? If we're looking at this little altar here, we might notice, some lovely little animals or mementos. Does anyone have a guess about what I might have in here?
Some sort of matter that involves Halloween or autumn.
Also good guesses now that we're in October.
A stuffed animal.
A stuffed animal, Silas. Perhaps.
Maybe something like a stuffy fox, like my tiny little fox right here.
Oh, that is a super tiny fox.
A turtle.
What? Are you kidding me right now? Okay, let's see. Lena, will you show us what's in the box?
I was right.
So, no, I'm going to just put a disclaimer out there right now. I will never put a live animal in the box. So, no, that is not a living turtle, but it is a turtle. And I'm going to hand it over to Rev Jen.
Thank you so much. Ryan, thank you for letting me tell the story today. Is it okay if I just sit down right here? So I don't get to spend a lot of time with you, and so I asked Ryan if I could just have this opportunity to say hello. Does everybody know who I am? I'm Rev Jen, and for those who have limited eyesight, I will describe myself a little bit. So today I'm wearing my hair down, and it's like a little bit past my shoulders. And I'm wearing my bright blue stole today that has a chalice on one side and the sun on the other, and it's they're both kind of floating in water. And it's one of my favorite stoles. So today I have a story for you, and it's considered a creation story because people wonder a lot about stuff. Like, we wonder, where did we come from? Who are we? How did all of this start? And so there are lots and lots of stories that try to explain what happened in the very beginning. So this is one story that comes. What?
Not the birds and the bees.
No, we're not going to do the birds and the bees story today. But this story comes from the Haudenosaunee people. The Haudenosaunee people are the people of the Longhouse. They are the people who took care of, that are still taking care of the land around the Great Lakes. And this is the story of Sky Woman. So long time ago, when the earth was all just water and just covered in water, one day, Sky Woman fell through a hole in Sky World and started falling through the sky toward this big body of water. And two geese saw her falling, and they flew over to her and let her land on their wings. And then they lowered her gently on the surface of the water. And she was able to rest there for a little while, but the geese's wings got really tired of holding her up like that. And thankfully, Great Turtle came by and said, "You can come and hop on my back." And so she did. And then the geese went, "Oh," That felt good. And Sky Woman was able to stay on Great Turtle's back for a long time, but all the animals knew that this was not going to be a permanent solution. You know, Sky Woman was going to need something bigger and better. And so a whole bunch of animals remembered that underneath the water, there was this thing that was kind of brown and sticky. And so one by one, the animals started to dive into the water and went deep, 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 deep to try to get some of that brown, sticky stuff. And one by one, they failed. They came back up and said, "It's so deep, we just couldn't get to it." But then Muskrat said, "Okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to try really, really hard." And so Muskrat dove under the water and was gone for a really long time. And the animals started worrying, "Where is Muskrat? Where is Muskrat?" And finally, he did come to the surface, and in his tiny little muskrat paw was a little bit of that brown, sticky stuff. We could call it mud. Right? And they started to spread it on top of Turtle's back. And then Sky Woman began to dance on it with her feet, and she started singing. And this mud started spreading and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then Sky Woman took some seeds that she had in her pocket and spread the seeds, and plants started to grow and flowers started to grow. And that is what we call Turtle Island. That is North America. That is the land that we stand and walk and roll upon every single day. Now, when we just think about it as North America, you know, the ground or the dirt, it kind of feels like, you know, it's kind of a thing. But when we think about it as turtle, then we can think about it as a living, breathing creature, right? And we can have a relationship with that living, breathing turtle and give thanks to it every day for supporting our lives. And that's the story of Sky Woman.
I brought a turtle.
You brought a turtle too. Lena, turtle is like big in your life right now, isn't it? You may know Eckhart Tolle. Anybody heard of Eckhart Tolle? Yeah, I figured. So you may know him best as the soft-spoken teacher who wrote The Power of Now or The New Earth. And he's particularly good at weaving together both ancient and New Age spirituality. Tolle has been gently and persistently trying to help us to wake up from the delusion of our own ego. He's the one, actually, I think he's the one who taught me this great way to meditate and stay completely alert and relaxed at the same time. So he suggested, imagine that you are a hawk or an eagle perched upon a high cliff, watching for a squirrel or a rabbit. In that way, completely alert, focused, and completely relaxed. In his most recent book, he's put down all of the words, the fancy words, and he has paired up with the cartoonist Patrick McDonald to create a picture book full of cartoons. And it features Earl, the Jack Russell Terrier, and Mooch, the tuxedo cat. The world of more than human beings has so much wisdom to offer us. Remember, we're latecomers to the game, right? We're latecomers to this earthly creation. We're the recent arrivals, and we really haven't been here very long. Those who were here before, they are the ones who saw Sky Woman fall from the sky. They are the ones who know so much more than we do. Of all of the non-human animals, we seem to have grown particularly attached to two of this kind. These days, they say that 70% of all homes share their lives with pets. And after the pandemic, it's even higher, right? And the majority of those homes who share their lives with pets, 3/4 of them live with dogs. And then about half live with cats. And then the rest share their lives with birds and turtles. Cat lives with snakes, right? What other animals do you live with? Fish? Spiders? Horses? Lions and tigers and bears? I know there are quite a few chickens around. There's a guinea pig back here. So, Parrots? Yep, all kinds of birds. Rats? Yeah. So in his book, Eckhart Tolle points out that humans spend an awful lot of time thinking and worrying, thinking and worrying, thinking and worrying. We spent so much time thinking that we often miss the deep peace that is available to us right here in this connected moment. We seem to be immersed in so much mental noise that we can't stop thinking. This cartoon up here on the screen right now shows a human in bed with eyes wide open and the words squeak, 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 squeak all over the frame. But when we spend time really paying attention to a dog or a praying mantis or a chickadee or a squirrel or a 400-year-old oak tree, that squeak, squeak, squeak that's constantly in our head subsides, and a small door opens. And that is the door to being. So here's a little cartoon of a bee. The bee is asking itself, what's on my to-do list today? And she says, just be. And then in the third frame, the bee flies away. Many of us grew up in a culture that places human beings at the very top of the hierarchy, right? And God said, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. But then there are these other humans who claim a heritage of stories and practices that reflect another way of being that resonates much more closely with Unitarian Universalism, of our values of interconnectedness and the inherent worth and dignity of every living thing. Animals and pets serve our needs in all kinds of ways. They protect and they feed us. They accompany us and teach us how to be joyful and content. They can alert us to health conditions like low blood sugar or seizures. They can save our lives. We have several service animals here as members of our congregation, and a lot of us depend on the unconditional love that we feel from our support animals. And yet, let us remember that they are not merely objects of our longing. They are not just objects of our need. They are not just solutions to our human problems. They are whole and wonderful beings unto themselves. And so, let us remember that the universe is a communion of subjects rather than a collection of objects. That's wisdom from Brian Swin and Thomas Berry. This is why we have set aside this time today, to honor the non-human animals that we have brought into our lives. This last drawing is of Earl, the Jack Russell Terrier, and Mooch, the tuxedo cat. They're all curled up together in what looks like the Taoist yin-yang symbol. So I'll invite you now to come forward with your photos and memorabilia. I know that a lot of you have lost very precious, furry, scaly members of your family this year, and so I especially want to make space for that real grief. So if you didn't bring up any pictures today, we do have index cards so you can draw a picture, or you can just write a name and then place it on the altar. And while you do that, we're going to play this wonderful video from the First Parish, UU in Concord. Thank you. For all of the love represented here on this altar, for all of the thanksgiving, for all of the sadness and the loss, may we give thanks. I also feel moved to say, I'm sorry and forgive us. Forgive us for not thinking of you, our animal friends, for not caring enough, for feeling like because I'm human, I'm more important. Today I want to share some joys and sorrows from our community that have to do with our beloved pets, but also have to do with things that are going on in our lives and in our families' lives, and our loved ones' lives. So Izzy is celebrating her little sister who moved into her college dorm last week, and we're wishing that she feels love and support from her family. There's a lot of gratitude being expressed by this community, gratitude for how something that someone was worried about actually turned out to be just fine. Gratitude for a life's journey with their love. And people sending lots of love and light to their friends, to their families, to loved ones. For Melinda, diagnosed with Alzheimer's. For Esther to find her way. For a family to heal from the loss of a son, a brother, a friend, an uncle. And then there's sorrow for the loss of a father, but then at the same time, a kind of joy knowing that he would have been very happy that this person had found a church that is sending love to the whole world. People are remembering Dianne Feinstein today. And so much thankfulness for decades of wonderful dogs, 7 decades of dogs who have shared their love and steadfast loyalty. We're thinking about all those who are recovering from surgery, and happy to see those among us who are back from surgery and seem to be doing well. Thinking about Andrew, who died unexpectedly and alone while working his job. Let us lift up in prayer little Ellie, age 5, waiting for spinal surgery. We remember wonderful dogs, Amanda and Rory. We think about our houseless neighbors, especially Ron and Michelle, whose shelter was swept away last week, sending them into an unknown and uncertain future. And then a joy mixed with sorrow, joy for a new day, for freshness from the rain, for a glorious sun and a big bright moon, sorrow for troubles in a marriage, and joy right alongside for bridges that are being built. And isn't this our life? All these threads of joys and sorrows, all these threads of struggle and elation and delight, all weaving together to create this fabric for all of us. Everybody's story fits in that weaving. Everybody's story is included. No one is left out. May it be ever so. Amen. Blessed be.
Our reading today is by Archie, a cockroach who types on Don Marquis's typewriter at night when the office is empty. It's difficult for him to do it, but he does it. I have just been reading an advertisement of a certain roach exterminator. The human race little knows all the sadness it causes the insect world. I remember some weeks ago meeting a middle-aged spider. She was weeping. "What is the trouble?" I asked her. "It is these cursed fly swatters," she replied. "They kill off all the flies, and my family and I are starving to death." It struck me as so pathetic that I made a little song about it, as follows, to wit. "'Twas an elderly mother spider, grown gaunt and fierce and gray, with her little ones crouched beside her, who wept as she sang this lay. Curses upon these swatters, what kills off all the flies? For me and my little daughters, unless we eats, we dies." I will admit that some of these insects do not lead noble lives, but it is every man's hand against them. Yours for less justice and more charity, Archie. By the way, Don Marquis may be best known for giving voice to the literary cockroach, but did you know he was also a very important part of the humanist movement? Possibly one of the U's, not sure which, who wrote the words to one of our hymns. Thank you.
Like I said, we are latecomers to this planet. Before us, there was the water and the cockroaches and the flies and the fishes and the birds. You would think that that would make us more humble, right, as we traverse upon this earth. Instead, we have been wielding our giant fly swatters. Now, the good news is that colonizing humans have been slowly turning toward a more inclusive ethic that finally understands the interconnected nature of our relationships with stream and the ash tree, the salmon and the beaver, the oak and the grasses. Finally, we are starting to make this great turn. Now, I know some of you feel like it's too late. It has come way too late to save this planet. And I will tell you that even at the end of a person's life, even at the very last day, as long as there is breath and as long as there is a little consciousness, there is still time, and it is not too late for awakening and transformation. This morning, as we head into a season where there are shorter days and longer nights, the world encourages us to slow down a bit, to remember those whom we have loved and lost, to remember our ancestors. And today, I want to lift up a few of our Unitarian Universalist ancestors who have asked us through the decades, through the centuries even, to use our hands and hearts for the benefit of animals and for the more than human world. Did you know that the first Universalist activist for animals was Judith Sargent Murray? She happened to be the wife of John Murray, who began the whole Universalist movement here in America. And she was not only a strong advocate for gender equality and abolition, but also for creating a world where animals had a right to live free from harm from humankind. And then on the Unitarian side of our religious heritage, there was a man named Henry Berg. He founded the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or the ASPCA, in 1866. They helped to stop cockfights and dogfights. They stopped shooting at pigeons for sport, and then came the invention of clay pigeons for the sport of skeet. A lot of other Unitarians joined the efforts of the ASPCA, including Longfellow and Alcott, Emerson, Thoreau. They actually worked so hard on this model that they used that same framework for another organization called the American Society to Prevent Cruelty to Children. Unitarians and Universalists would go on to create what one historian called the first mass effort in North America to teach kindness to animals. In the late 1800s, something called the Bands of Mercy came to be, and they had over 750,000 members across the United States and North America. A lot of them were youth and children, all swearing an oath to be kind to harmless living creatures and to try to protect them from cruel usage. In more recent times, in the mid-1980s, a new group was formed called the Unitarian Universalists for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, UFETA. Has anybody been part of UFETA? Yeah. So UFETA brought very important programming to the General Assembly of all UUs, not only about the animal rights movement, but about compassionate and mindful consumption, about global warming and ethical eating. Today, this group has changed its name to the Unitarian Universalist Ministry, Unitarian Universalist Ministry for Animals, which isn't quite as much fun to say as UFETA, but they're doing really good work, and I want to thank them for providing the information, the historical information that I'm sharing with you today. They describe their work as overcoming the assumption that only animals, that there is only one animal of concern to God, that only one creature possesses inherent worth, or matters in the whole scheme of things. It was the 20th century Unitarian philosopher Charles Hartshorne who asked this rhetorical question: is it likely that God takes no delight whatsoever in the more than 1 million other living forms on this planet, yet does delight in the one human species lately emerged on the planet? No, I think not. Yes, human beings are an important part of this living planet. We are considered a keystone species, which means that our impact is really important, both negative and positive. It's not true that we can just abandon this earth and it'll be okay. We can't just abandon our responsibility to it and all of existence. It's not an option. And I know that this may be your default when you feel incredible despair for what is going on with the earth. You may feel like human beings are totally bad and want to just kind of run away from this whole situation. But that's not what we need. What we need is deeper engagement. What we need, instead of to run away from a difficult relationship, is, in this case, we need to stay here, and we need to do better. We need to be a better partner to the living earth and to its living creatures. As long as we are here on this planet, no matter how hopeless it may feel, there is always something that we can do. There's always something that we can do in our own little corner of the world to reduce the suffering of another creature, to practice empathy for the life of a stream, for the life of a tree or a spider. There's always something more that we can do to learn about indigenous practices, always something more that we can do to adopt a more life-giving habit in our daily living. There's more that we can do to just keep asking questions about our own actions and how they impact the web of all existence. There is always more that we can do to love the world as it is our body. It is our body. It is our blood. And it is our heritage. Amen. Now let's say together the words of our closing and our chalice extinguishing. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now go into this wonderful, fresh, bright new day, this first day of October, this first day of the week. And remember that the earth does not belong to us. We belong to it. We did not weave the web of life. We are strands in it. Go in peace. Go in love, my friends.